She screamed, "Get off this property before I call the cops." But the old man didn't even flinch. Grandpa Joe just stood there, holding his walking stick, staring at the two men in fake HOA uniforms blocking his driveway. Their shiny badges looked real enough to fool anyone, but I knew the HOA didn't have officers. They were imposters. And one of them had just pushed my 70-year-old grandpa onto the gravel. I was still halfway down the dirt road when I saw him fall. His stick rolled into the grass, and he cried out in pain, clutching his arm. The taller man barked, "You've ignored too many violations. We're taking your truck until you pay the fines." Grandpa tried to explain, his voice shaking, "I own this land. Before any of you even moved here." But they didn't care. One of them twisted his wrist to grab the keys. That's when I heard the snap. Grandpa's arm gave out, and the sound made my blood freeze. I ran faster, shouting, "Hey! What the hell are you doing?" The shorter one turned, his sunglasses reflecting the afternoon sun, and smirked. "Family business, huh? Maybe you'll both learn to respect authority." He didn't realize I was already recording everything on my phone. Grandpa tried to stand but winced, whispering, Don't fight them, son. They'll just make it worse." But my fists were shaking. Not from fear, from the kind of anger you feel when someone crosses a line they can't come back from. I looked at their truck. The license plate wasn't even local. These guys weren't HOA officers, they were hired thugs. Before I could say another word, the tall one stepped close, trying to snatch my phone. "Delete that video," he growled. I stared right into his eyes and said, "Sure. Come take it." That half-second of hesitation told me everything. He wasn't ready for what came next. In the distance, I heard the rumble of engines. Deep, roaring, familiar. My cousins were back from the ride. 5 black motorcycles curved around the bend, dust flying as they closed in fast. The fake officers turned, realizing too late that they'd just picked the wrong family to mess with. Grandpa's voice trembled as he whispered, "Lord help them boys. They don't know who they're dealing with." The engines stopped with a growl that shook the ground. Dust rose, the air thick with tension. My cousin Luke took off his helmet first, tattoos on his arms. Beard thick, ice cold as steel. Behind him, Mason, Eli, and the twins, all wearing black leather vests that read Iron Hawks MC. They didn't say a word, just stared at the 2 fake officers like wolves circling prey. The tall one tried to sound tough. "This is HOA business. Back off before I call the police." Luke smirked. "Yeah. Go ahead. But make sure you call the real ones this time." He stepped closer until they were nearly face to face. The shorter man shifted his hand toward his belt, pretending to have a gun, but it was empty. Grandpa sat on the porch steps, clutching his arm, eyes glassy with pain. Mason crouched beside him. "He all right?" he asked. I nodded, still filming everything. Grandpa muttered, "They said I can't keep the old truck in the yard. Said it violates HOA appearance code." His voice broke. "They ain't even from the neighborhood." Luke's eyes darkened. "You came here, broke a veteran's arm, and pretended to be law." The taller man took a step back. "We were sent by Mrs. Hartwell from the HOA board. She said the property's under inspection." Luke tilted his head. "Inspection, huh? So that's what you call assault now?" Eli pulled a folded paper from the fake officer's shirt pocket. It was an official notice, complete, with a cheap printed HOA logo, but the signatures at the bottom didn't match. I saw Luke's jaw tighten. "You forged this?" The shorter one started sweating. "Look, man, we're just doing our job," Luke cut him off. "You hurt my uncle." His voice was low, deadly calm. "That's not a job. That's a mistake." Before things exploded, I heard sirens in the distance, real police this time. The imposters looked nervous, exchanging glances. Luke leaned in and whispered, "You better hope those cops get here fast." Before I forget, we're being recorded. The tall one tried to play it off. You'll all regret this, he said, trying to sound bold. But as the police cars came into view, his voice cracked. Luke looked at me and said quietly, keep filming. Let's see who they arrest today. And when the cruisers stopped, the first officer out of the car wasn't a stranger. It was my cousin's fiancée, Deputy Rose. She took one look at Grandpa's arm, then turned her eyes to the two fake HOA officers. Her hand went straight to her holster. Who broke his arm? She asked. No one answered. Luke pointed. They did. Rose's voice went cold. Then don't move. Either of you. And right there, for the first time, I saw fear in their eyes. The street went dead silent except for the clicking of Rose's boots on the gravel. The imposters froze as she circled them, one hand still on her holster. Badges, she ordered. The tall one hesitated, pulling out a shiny but clearly fake metal badge. Rose took it, turned it over, and gave a small humorless laugh. This is from a Halloween store. She looked at me next. You've got this on video? I nodded. From the moment they grabbed him. Good, she said quietly, eyes still locked on the men. That's all I need. Rose called into her radio, requesting backup and an ambulance. Grandpa was sitting on the porch, trying to stay calm, but his hand kept trembling. Mason had already wrapped his arm with a rag. You'll be all right, old man, Mason said softly, but his jaw was tight. One of the fake officers tried to speak. Listen, we were just hired. We didn't mean to. Who hired you? Rose interrupted sharply. He swallowed. Mrs. Hartwell. She said the man was breaking HOA codes and wouldn't cooperate. She told us we'd get $500 each if we removed his truck and scared him a little. Luke's face twisted with rage. She paid you to assault a veteran. Rose's expression hardened. You just confessed to impersonating law enforcement and battery on an elderly man. You're done. She started cuffing them while reading their rights. The taller one resisted, but Eli stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. Don't even think about it. The men froze. As the real backup cars arrived, a small crowd of neighbors gathered near the fence. Phones came out, recording. I heard someone whisper, "That's Mr. Joe's land. He's lived here forever." One officer helped Grandpa into the ambulance, while another took statements. Luke stood beside Rose, whispering something to her. She frowned, nodding. Then she walked over to me and said, "We'll take these guys in." But that woman, Mrs. Hartwell, she just made this a whole different case. I'll need that video. I handed her the phone. Take it. But I want to be there when she sees it. Rose gave a faint smile. Trust me. She's not ready for what's coming. As the cops drove off with the two fake officers, the dust settled again. Grandpa looked at us from the ambulance door. His voice low but firm, "Don't let her get away with this." Luke nodded slowly. "Oh, we won't. But we'll do it our way." The rumble of bikes started again, low and steady. And in that moment, I knew the Iron Hawks weren't done. Mrs. Hartwell had no idea that her next HOA meeting was going to become her worst nightmare. That evening, the neighborhood felt different, quiet. Tense, like the calm before a storm. The sun dipped low behind the hills, painting the sky orange as our bikes rolled up to the community hall. The HOA meeting was in full swing, lights blazing inside. Mrs. Hartwell standing at the front with her fake smile and pearl necklace. She had no clue what was about to hit her. Rose was already there, standing by the door in uniform, arms crossed. When she saw us, she gave a subtle nod. It was time. Luke pushed open the doors, and every head turned. The roar of the engines outside faded into silence. Mrs. Hartwell blinked, clearly nervous. "This is a private meeting," she said, her voice cracking just a bit. Luke smirked. "Private? Not anymore." He reached into his vest and handed her a USB drive. "Here. You'll want to see what your officers did today." She tried to speak, but Rose stepped forward. holding a laptop connected to the projector. Actually, we'll show everyone. She pressed play. The footage lit up the big screen, 2 fake HOA enforcers shoving Grandpa, twisting his arm, threatening me, and finally confessing that Mrs. Hartwell had hired them. Gasps filled the room. Neighbors looked at each other in shock, some even recording with their phones. Hartwell's face turned pale. This is fake," she stammered. Rose's voice was calm but cold. "We already confirmed their statement. You're under investigation for conspiracy, assault by proxy, and fraud." Mrs. Hartwell's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Luke leaned in and whispered, "You broke the wrong man's arm." Then he straightened, turning to the crowd. "My grandpa fought for this land. You don't get to take that from him, or anyone else." The hall erupted in murmurs. Some clapped quietly. Others just stared at Mrs. Hartwell as 2 deputies led her out in handcuffs. Outside, Grandpa was sitting on the back of the ambulance, his arm in a cast, watching everything unfold. When Luke walked up, Grandpa smiled faintly. "You didn't have to go that far," he said. Luke grinned. "You raised us better than to let bullies win." The other bikers stood behind him, quiet and proud. The headlights from their bikes painted the road silver as the night deepened. Rose came over, handing Grandpa a small envelope. "County Records Office verified your deed," she said. "This land's been yours for 50 years. No HOA can touch it." Grandpa's eyes watered as he looked at the paper. "Guess justice still works in this country." Luke put a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes it just needs a louder engine." They all laughed softly. The air finally felt light again, like the land itself could breathe. As we rode home through the fields, I looked back one last time at the old wooden porch, the lights glowing warm behind it. Grandpa waved from his chair, proud and peaceful. And in that moment, I realized the truth of what he always said. Freedom isn't just owning land. It's standing up for it,